Food is a priority for every single production. How else are you going to get these people to stay here for 12 hours of their living life? My name is Shania, just Shania Banton, and I have been a filmmaker for the past 11 years, and I have been a full-time director, writer, and producer for going on 3 years now. On today's OnSet Talks, I'm going to answer this question of what tasks fall under operations and logistics. When it comes to finding a producer, I always bank on people who understand operations and logistics, because a big part of being a producer is being able to organize a team, organize a function, create a system. There's so many operations and logistics that come with being a producer. Some of those things include a hiring process. Once you hire this crew, what paperwork are they going to need to know about? What details are they going to need to know about? How will they necessarily be onboarded? How will this team get together? Are you guys doing a weekly meeting with the above the line crew? Is the above the line crew supposed to be working with the below the line crew? How are you spreading information throughout all of the departments and your entire team? That is a really important part. Creating a hiring process is that first step in knowing what information each person is going to receive. The next thing, which doesn't necessarily only fall on the producer, it also falls on the first AD, is scheduling. That is a huge part of operations and logistics, is scheduling. Understanding how to schedule, because your first AD is going to be developing this schedule based off of the director's vision and what the director has planned for their shots. You as the producer then need to work with the first AD to actually talk about the logistics of this production. What does load in and load out look like? Where are people loading in and where are people loading out? What does the transportation grid look like? Who is arriving and what cars are they in, so that you can make sure nobody's getting a ticket? You need to make sure that you have PAs to fire watch. All of those things are logistical, and you need to understand how to schedule to ensure that you have enough time for that. Because if your first AD is scheduling out things based off a shot, but let's say they're planning to shoot 9 of said 12 hours, but you actually need 4 to 5 to 6 hours to do load in and load out, then at least you can let them know that, hey, we may want to try to plan and or schedule load in and load out to be on days that we are not shooting if you need that much time. All of these things, it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. Logistics and operations is a puzzle. So you want to make sure that your producer knows how to do that. Other things include housing, transportation. If you are flying people in or bringing people in, where are they staying and how are they getting there? On top of that, what are they eating? What are they eating? Meals is a huge missed opportunity on every single production set. People always leave that for the last thing, but little do they know, food is a priority for every single production. How else are you going to get these people to stay here for 12 hours of their living life, of their day, if you are not properly feeding them and giving them nutrition? Because honestly, they didn't have to be here. They could have got an 8-hour job in a corporate building and figured out their own food, but they're dedicating themselves to production. They're dedicating themselves to your project. They're giving a lot of their life to you. So the least you can do is feed them well. So understanding how to set up meal plans. When I say meal plans, I mean knowing at this hour, this is what we're going to eat. This is when we have to go pick it up. This is when we need to order it by. Here's everybody's dietary restrictions. How do you even go about getting people's dietary restrictions? Now, a lot of these minuscule tasks that I'm talking about may fall down to your production manager or your associate producer. It may not always fall on your producer, but if we're talking about small scale indie project, you may not have the budget to hire all of these roles. So it will likely fall on your producer. So that is why it's important to make sure your producers also know how to do that logistical work and plan those things out. Something else that I noticed that falls through the cracks all the times and that producers don't think that they need to know is equipment orders. No, you do not need to know what every single piece of equipment is. That is not necessarily your job, but you need to know how to put in these equipment orders. That Cam and Genie team is depending on you as a producer to be able to get everything that they need to be set up for success when they get to set. On top of understanding how to order this stuff, you need to make sure you as the producer and that your team has what's needed to place the order, because you'll likely need a COI. You also need to develop a plan of who's going to pick up the items. Where is it going to be picked up? When does it need to be dropped off? All of those details need to be known. When we're talking about the operations and logistics aspect of having a producer, these are the things you want to make sure they know how to do.